Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we're going to talk about Chainlink and its valuation against Bitcoin. There's no doubt about it. It has been bleeding like crazy the last few months since that major blow off top this summer. Let's see if there's going to be a turnaround point this soon, or if there's likely to be a turnaround point soon. If you guys like the content, please subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Also check out the Telegram channel in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in. So in this video, we're simply going to look at the relative strength index. We don't typically talk about this one on the channel. We've been talking about it a little bit more recently because altcoins have been getting hammered by Bitcoin. And so I just want to pull this up to show you guys that we've been in these situations before. However, the daily RSI for Link of Link against Bitcoin is lower right now than it ever has been. Okay, it's lower now than it ever has been. And we've said before, we don't know how Link will behave with respect to Bitcoin in a bull market. We know how it behaves in a bear market. It did great. We know how it behaves in an accumulation phase. It did great. We still don't know yet how it behaves in a bull market. So far, mixed results against Bitcoin. Because if the argument is that the bull market began when Bitcoin got above its 20-week moving average, which happened earlier this year, maybe around this period, so far it did really well at first, and then it's come back down. However, we know the Link USD valuation is still doing okay, right? I mean, if you bought it near the bottom, like $7 or $8, you're looking at it now, it's around 13 bucks. So it's still fairly decent if you're valuing it in terms of USD. But again, we're better than that. We don't want it to just do well against USD. We want it to do well against Bitcoin because we're paying for it with all this risk that we're taking by holding it. And remember, if you follow this channel, I took a lot of profits up here. Okay, I sold it around 150,000 satoshis, and there have been 3 times over the last few months where I have bought back in at $7, at $8, and $11.44 a couple weeks ago. This is on the premium list. But regardless of that, right? It's water under the bridge at this point. Where are we today? Now, if you're unfamiliar with the relative strength index, it more or less tries to give you it basically shows you if it's oversold, overbought. Generally speaking, if it's above 70, people would consider that to be overbought. If it's below 30, it generally to be considered oversold. Okay, right now we are sitting at 26.44. It's pretty low. It's never been this low before. However, there have been times where it got below 30. Let's take a look what happened the prior times that the Link RSI on the daily time frame got below 30. What happened? Okay, so that's what we're going to look at. So the first one was, let's just go back. So the first one was September of 2020, so not too long ago. It got to this level, and then it ricocheted back up to a daily RSI 54. What happened September 22nd of 2020? So let's go look. So September 22nd of 2020 is right here. Right there. So let's draw a line so we can better paint this. Okay, right there. That's what happened. So on that rally from the local bottom, Link rallied against Bitcoin around 40% or so over a week. Okay, over approximately a week, it rallied about 40%. So that was one of the last times. There was another, I guess I missed this one. There was another time where it reached around 27 or so, slightly above where we currently are. And that was early November. What happened early November? So we're going to look at November 5th right there. What happened then? Well, at that point, we saw another rally of 25% against Bitcoin. Now, it might seem nice and all, right? I mean, of course, these 40% rallies and 25% rallies are nice. However, the trend has still been down, right? The trend has still been down so far. And we don't know exactly how long the trend is going to last. If you go over and look to see where we currently are, this was a prior local top, sort of a local top there. And once we passed it right there, that's what ultimately kicked off that bull run of Link against Bitcoin. So we are getting pretty far down right now. However, in the past, when we've gotten down to these levels, at least the past few months, we saw a 25 to 42% move back against Bitcoin after such a long bleed. Okay, let's go back even further. So here was another example in May of 2020. This one occurred here. Okay, this one was when it went all the way down to a daily RSI around the current level. A little bit higher, but around the current level. And you ultimately see what happened here, right? It's probably not drawn exactly. Let me get it exact here. So this one occurred on May 7th. So May 7th. So that is where it hit the bottom. From here, it rallied in the short term, but ultimately this one was a turnaround point. If you go back even further, there was another time, this one did not go below 30. This one did. That one ultimately was a huge move, right? This one ultimately led to a 100 to 150% move against Bitcoin. Another time was here back in April of 2019 where it went down to this level. This was 300% move against Bitcoin. If we go back even further, let's expand this so we can see it a little bit more clearly. This one here, it reached 30, and it ultimately led to that move. This one led to a smaller move around 40%. It looks like it's small, but it's because Link was very overperforming back then. So this was a 40% move, even though it doesn't look like much. And here it got down to 32 before moving back up fairly substantially as well, right? Another 500% move. So the key thing I think to remember here is that, as we've said before, as long as Bitcoin volatility stays high, this trend will continue. As much as we don't want it to, as much as we would like to see Link turn around against Bitcoin sooner, until Bitcoin gives us a little bit more direction on what it's going to do, then we would expect Link to continue to be devalued against Bitcoin. Until that time comes, when that time comes, I think we will see a pretty nice bounce of Link against Bitcoin, and it could be coming sooner rather than later. Again, the daily RSI is pretty low. I would not necessarily be that surprised to see it bounce back up here in the next, say, at least 1 to 2 weeks. In the next 1 to 2 weeks, I think there's at least a non-negligible chance that we see at least a short-term intermediate move like we saw in this downtrend a couple other times. It doesn't mean the downtrend's over if that happens, because it still will be contingent on whether Bitcoin volatility reduces. I love Link. You guys know I do, but I own a lot more Bitcoin than Link, and this is the reason. It's safer. It's a safer play, and there's still a lot of returns to be made in Bitcoin. Link is a great coin to hold to reduce your or increase your Sharpe ratio, your risk-adjusted returns. If you look back the last few years, Link has performed phenomenally well against Bitcoin. I mean, from the bottom of 2017, the Link Bitcoin valuation, it's still up almost 6,000%, maybe around 5,900% or so. It's still up significantly during that period of time. Now we just want to see, okay, well, the daily RSI is lower than it ever has been. Is it time for a turnaround point soon? If we switch it to the weekly RSI, and I'm going to remove all these drawings. If you switch this to the weekly RSI, you can also see that it has gotten completely hammered recently, completely hammered. In fact, the last time the weekly RSI on Link was this low was July of 2018. And the lowest the weekly RSI has ever been on Link Bitcoin is around 32. It's currently 38. So we're not even that far away from the global weekly RSI bottom. I haven't even looked at this yet. Let's look at the monthly one. What's the monthly RSI look like? Okay, we're still higher than we have been. We're higher now than we were back in the same time frame, like summer of 2019, early or spring of 2019 or so. So going back, the last time the monthly RSI was this low was May of 2019. So the point here is more or less, we know Link has been bleeding against Bitcoin. However, we've expected it will continue to bleed against Bitcoin as long as Bitcoin volatility remains high. whenever Bitcoin volatility calms down and stays relatively bullish, it should be Link's time to shine. Until then, I don't really think there's much else to do than just buckle up and wait and hope that that move eventually comes. Because, I mean, and I don't think it's that hard to hold on right now, because the Link USD valuation is still doing relatively well. So a lot of new people to the space are still pretty happy with what has gone on with Link over the last few weeks, because if they bought at $7 or $8 and they're still looking at $13, you're like, what's wrong? Right? This is great. They're up like 2x almost, maybe not quite 2x, but around there in a relatively short period of time. However, when you dig deeper and you say, okay, well, yeah, it's doing okay against USD, but it's not doing okay against Bitcoin, and this again is where we want to see it. We want to see it turn around. Remember, a lot of coins have had major moves against Bitcoin starting in Q1. As long as Bitcoin has the show, maybe December is Bitcoin's month. I mean, November too, for that matter, right? So December seems to be Bitcoin's month again for the upteenth time in a row. We'll see if Link can reclaim some of its ground heading into Q1. We only have a couple more weeks before we get there. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Give the video a thumbs up. Also check out the Telegram channel in the description below. And remember, we also do have the premium list holiday sale for another couple weeks, so you guys can check that out in the description below too. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you next time. Bye.